Welcome to the BU podcast. Thank you so much for joining for another week. I have a beautiful guest joining me today. Her name is Naima Woodson, founder and creator of Beach Bone Wisdom Crystals, Beach Bone Wisdom Tea, Beach Bone Wisdom Travels, and an overall awesome person and a lover of life. Naima.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm
Thank you
just
for thinking of me.
yes, of course. It was actually interesting. I was like, I'm just, I'm a huge supporter and follower of yours. And I'm like, I don't know why I haven't reached out to her about talking about her journey yet. It just really dawned on me. I was like, let me just see if she's interested. So I'm happy to be here with you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Happy to be here.
thank you. Now, before we dive into beach bum crystals and everything about it, I want to just kind of talk to you about how you got into the journey of holistic healing. So what just sparked your interest into really dabbling into this space?
This started actually when I was a kid, and I've always been just really drawn to everything natural, holistic healing. I started studying really early on different religions, different thoughts on spirituality, ancient systems and practices on just about everything natural and holistic.
Wow.
um, I began looking into like metaphysical healing, just all of the different healing modalities I was always drawn to. And as a kid, I used to collect crystals and was always really drawn to that, to that natural element. Although at that time, I didn't really understand the metaphysical properties or healing properties or anything like that. But as a child, I was just naturally drawn to that. And then, of course, as I got older and started reading more, I just was really opened up to a whole world of possibility on wellness and healing and spirituality and different tools and systems and techniques. So from there, I started taking classes and started studying different modalities like energy healing and crystal therapy and Ayurveda, chakras, like you name it.
Everything.
Yes, I started taking classes and really understanding these different methods. And then, of course, when I started to travel, I was always drawn to different places in Asia, and of course, a lot of the Eastern, modalities and things like that that I studied originated there. So I was able to really connect with different teachers and things like that in India and, Bali and all of these different beautiful places and really understand the roots and the histories and the philosophy and science behind these different studies. And so I guess what I do now is kind of uh, it's just an incorporation of all of these different ancient techniques and philosophies. And all it boils down to is finding what's right for you to give you a balanced mind, body, spirit, wellness connection. So
I love that. That's so beautiful.
thank
Did
you.
you ever, since it sounds like that you've been into this, for at a younger age, did you ever feel like you were an outcast to like maybe your circle or just maybe like the community with you being so connected in that space than others?
I've never felt like an outcast. I always felt like I was different
Mm-hmm.
and very much into things that were different than, like my family. Um, I was raised very Christian in the church every Sunday. So, although what I study and what I teach now isn't based on religion, of course, there are a lot of different judgments with that. So, I never felt like an outcast though, or
Yeah.
like an outsider. It was just like, I'm different and I'm okay with that. And it is what it is.
So I actually also remember you telling me before that Bali was one of the first places that you visited on a
Mhm.
solo trip. What
Yeah.
what ignited you to want to travel to Bali out of all places? Like, was there a point in your life where you just felt very kind of fatigued and low in spirit?
Yeah. So during that time, that was right after I had made some really big life transformations. So I had gone from being married to being divorced, and then a single mom of two daughters.
Mm.
And I was making a transition from being in the corporate world to like really venturing on my entrepreneurial journey. And there was just a lot that I felt like I needed to sort out. And I had taken my tax return that year. I was like, I'm just going to go somewhere. I want to go somewhere really far away. That was actually my first time traveling internationally. And I just wanted to go somewhere far away. I was like, I was looking into a few different places, but I find that even now, certain places call me, like they speak to me, and I'm like, I don't know why it is that I need to go to this place, but it keeps showing up for me. Like either I keep seeing it, I keep hearing its name, I keep being drawn to it. And so that was the first place internationally that I was drawn to. And of course, everybody thought I was crazy because they were like, you're going where? Like,
By
you're going where?
yourself?
Yeah, you're going where by yourself? And so I caught like a lot of my friends and family off guard with that because, of course, they were concerned about like, this is your first time going somewhere this far. Are you going to be okay? Like, do you know what you're going to be doing? Are you going to be safe? And I didn't really care at that point. I was just like, I just need to go. Although I'm very conscious about safety and making sure that I'm aware of my surroundings and everything like that,
Right.
I feel like I don't know, I just always feel safe. Like I just feel like I'm protected. So I wasn't worried at all about making that journey. And I knew that because I was being called there, that I needed to honor that and that was a part of my journey. And of course, that opened up all of everything that's basically happening in my life today opened up from honoring that call.
Mm-hmm. I really like that you mentioned that you just always felt safe because I think that's like a perfect example of um, saying that how your faith is just very strong.
Mhm.
Once you believe and just have that confidence, it's take you further than our beyond our imagination.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that resistance creates blockages of all kinds in people. And that stems from fear, of
Right.
course. Um, but it creates this resistance. And when you allow that to consume you and to guide you, then you're just not open to all of the possibilities for what could happen if you stood in front of that and really kind of shed that fear.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
beautifully said.
Thank you.
Um, it kind of seems like you always had like a passion for like serving because I remember prior to you opening this business right here, you had another business called Fit for LA, right?
Fit for a kid.
Fit for a kid for LA. Fit for a kid,
Yeah.
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 And there you were teaching nutrition and fitness education.
Mhm.
So let's talk about that. What did you do differently with that one compared to the business you opening up? I mean, that you have right now. Excuse me.
Mhm. So that was my very first transition out of the corporate life. So okay, let me just say this. I've always been a hustler, like always been a hustler, like always had a job.
Yeah.
I was 15 and a half years old. My very first job was at Hot Dog on a Stick in the Fox Hills Mall. And just never not had a job, right? So I was always like making my own money. As I mentioned with the crystals, I was drawn to that as a teenager. I was selling crystal jewelry back then. I was like
Oh
18,
wow.
making jewelry, and I was like having these little shows where my mom would invite people, and I would invite friends and stuff like that, and colleagues and coworkers, and they would come. So I've always been a hustler.
Let's
Um,
get that straight.
yeah, but so Fit for a Kid was my very first transition from being in the corporate world for a really long time, for years. The last corporate job I worked there for 10 years.
Hmm.
So I made a transition from that safety and security and like getting that paycheck every 2 weeks to Fit for a Kid. And Fit for a Kid started through, it was an idea that I had through the preschool that my daughter was going to at that time. There was this lady that used to come in and she would do gymnastics classes for the kids.
Hmm.
And I thought it was so cool. I'm like, wow, okay, she's going to all of these different little preschools and providing this service for parents. You know, the parents are obviously at work, their kids are at school. And what a wonderful opportunity for the kids to be active and for them to participate in this extracurricular activity while their parents are at work, so
Right.
that, you know, so that they don't have to like take their kids to a class after they get off work and they're exhausted and have all these other things to do. So that planted a seed in me, because I had my daughter signed up for the gymnastics class, and then I just started doing the numbers and I'm like, okay, well, you know, all of these parents, they have their kids enrolled in this class, and she must be going to at least, you know, however many different schools and doing this program. So I just started thinking about that. And as I mentioned, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And so at the same time, I had signed up for this business plan writing course because I knew I was going to start a business. I was like, you know, in this transition where I completely hated my corporate job. And I was like, I got to get out of here and I don't want to go work for anybody else.
Hmm.
So I took this business plan writing class. And when I thought it was just like a basic level, like you go and learn how to do it. But when we started the class on the very first day, the instructor was like, well, you need to choose the business that you're going to do, because this is an extensive course. You're going to do a lot of work and you'll want to be able to use this plan. So I was like, oh no, I don't have like my business picked out. And then I pulled from that seat and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do something with children's fitness where I go, you know, teach exercises and stuff like that. And then at the same time, I had got certified in children's fitness and nutrition. And so all these things were happening at the same time. And at that time, I didn't have the vision for creating like a whole company out of it. It just evolved into that. So I took the business plan writing course, had created a whole business around Fit for a Kid, children's physical fitness and nutrition education company. And then at the end of the class, we were given the opportunity to present our business plan to these different grant organizations.
Hmm.
Well, long story short, I ended up winning a grant for $10,000 to
Wow.
actually start my business.
That is amazing.
So, yeah. So, and at the same time, I just always have to mention this. As I was at work and, you know, I'm talking to people about my idea and I'm like, you know, I'm going to start this business. I'm going to get out of here, because we all hated that job. And like, oh, you know, I'm going to get out of here. I don't know how, I don't know what is going to happen. I'm like, all I need is $10,000 and I can start this little business. I kept saying that like over and over again. All I need is $10,000. Give me $10,000 and I'm going to start this business. And then I end up winning the grant for $10,000.
The power of words is real.
Exactly. So I ended up winning the grant. I made the transition from working that job to starting that business, and it evolved in all sorts of ways. So I ended up starting out at preschools and private schools and doing their physical fitness programs for them. And then I ended up expanding to public school programs where, you know, they would fund having the programs at their school. And that was in LA Unified, Long Beach Unified, and Compton Unified. And, you know, I was doing classes at different events for Michelle Obama's Let's Move organization. I was doing classes at the malls. I was doing classes through parks and recs. I ended up hiring a small staff, and it just kind of grew, into this thing. And then I got to a point where I started evolving again. That's like a never ending journey. And I just felt really drawn to working with women.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so I didn't know in what capacity, I didn't know what I was going to do, but it was that trip to Bali that again planted a seed in me where I was just like, this is it. Like other people, other women need to experience this, other mothers, other, people that are just completely burnt out with their job or with whatever is going on in their life. And they're entering this transition. They need to experience this.
Right. Yeah.
So at a certain point, I was doing Fit for a Kid and Beach Bum Wisdom simultaneously. And then after about a year, I was like, okay, I just want to put all my energy into Beach Bum Wisdom.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
a lot, Naima. I didn't even know you had all that going on before.
Yeah.
A hustler for sure.
Yes.
That's awesome. So you said that you had hired a staff prior.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a staff with you on Beach Bum Wisdom, or is it merely just all you?
No. Okay. So with Beach Bum Wisdom, it depends on which component you're talking about. So
Okay.
with Beach Bum Wisdom Travels, it's all me. I'm coordinating, I'm organizing, I'm hosting, it's me. And I would say over the years, it's gotten much easier because I've created a blueprint for planning these retreats and making them happen. And oftentimes I'm visiting, the same destination. So I have it all, planned out and everything. Yeah. So occasionally I'll have an assistant come along with me
Okay.
on the size of the group, but they're not like an employee of mine. It's just somebody that I'm hiring, or either like a girlfriend that I'll have come along to assist me with, just logistic stuff when we get there.
Okay.
And from there, I'm hiring, wherever the place is. So if I'm hiring staff to help facilitate the event, they live in whatever country we're visiting. Or if I'm hiring a photographer, I'm hiring somebody that lives in that country. So they're not my staff, but I do have people helping, behind the scenes, but they're not employed by me.
I like that idea because oftentimes, I'm pretty sure entrepreneurship is just not the easiest all the time. So it is good to have like a team or an extra help. But I love that you hire people when needed. You don't have like a full on staff working day and night. You're hands on completely.
Yes.
Everything.
Yeah, and it works easier that way, especially because most of my retreats are in other countries. So it would be quite costly to fly out a whole staff, to
Right.
fly out and accommodate a whole staff, as opposed to just hiring, a photographer or a chef or, a maid or whatever it is that we need, as opposed to just hiring them in that country.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, wherever we travel, I love connecting with and supporting the locals. That's one of my favorite things about traveling, is just building relationships with the locals. And a lot of the locals that I work with every year, so they become like an extension of what I'm doing. And, I'm friends with them, and it just feels good to not only, to have them serve the people that are joining me, but also to pour into them and their community. And a lot of times they're looking for work. So it ends
Right.
up just working out. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then with Beach Bum Wisdom Crystals, my daughters are on the payroll.
Gotta put them to work somehow. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I want to know, what's your day to day look like? Because I know oftentimes, maybe to the outside looking in, it's like you're always on vacation, but I know that's not the truth. What is like your day, morning to night looking like every day?
Yes, that is a huge misperception that people have about me. People think that I spend every day just like either out of town traveling to some like beautiful exotic place, or that I'm like sitting down in prayer pose meditating or something like that. And that is so far from my reality. Number one, I'm a mom.
Mhm.
So, you know, of course I have my daughters. They're older, so it's not like they need too much hand holding. One of my daughters is an adult. She'll be 20 this year. And then I have another teenage daughter, but they're super like low maintenance. And, you know, I don't have to spend too much time and energy there other than offering support. So of course, you know, my family, always being available for them, that's first for me. And then aside from that, okay, so typically my retreats, when we were traveling, I would have maybe like 5 a year, and they would be spread out.
Okay.
So all of the planning for those retreats, you know, happens from my home, from my computer. You know, all of the logistics and all of the information that I'm providing everybody, all of the excursions, and just everything from the beginning of the retreat to the end of the retreat, anything you could possibly think you would need, you know, accommodating a group of people, that all happens from home. So I'm working on my computer a lot. But since we haven't done that for the past year and a half now, which we're going to get back to that
Mhm.
this December, but a lot of my energy and focus shifted to my crystals business.
Okay.
And so that takes up the most of my time right now. So all of the jewelry, crystals, everything that's in my shop, um, I'm either hand making or sourcing myself.
Okay.
So again, that's time actually like making things. I get orders every day. So I'm packing orders every day. I'm going to the post office every day.
A blessing.
So, so it really just depends on how many orders I get for the day. That could take anywhere from an hour to several hours, you
Mhm.
know, to 5 or 6 hours, depending on how many orders I get for the day. And then outside of that, it's really just a lot of creating things. I have a lot of different components of my business. So I have some courses that I'm now transitioning from doing in person to doing online on Zoom like this, to now making them recorded courses.
Mhm.
So, you know, I'm editing material. I manage all of my social media, and I have 4 pages for each component of my business, plus my personal page. So I'm managing that. And as you can imagine, that takes time if you don't have
Definitely.
it all planned out.
Definitely.
Um, yeah, so I'm doing that. And then in between that, you know, I'm cooking, making meals for the day. I'm exercising, um, you know, doing any number of things to take care of myself, to better facilitate me
Mhm.
serving other people. You
Mhm.
know, I always have to make sure that I'm feeling good to do my work, because if I'm not in a good space to do this work, which is mostly like energetic and creative, if I'm not in that space, it's hard for me to work. And if
Right.
it's hard for me to work, I can't serve other people.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I do, so taking care of myself is a huge component in my day, making
Speak.
sure I'm well balanced and feel good. And
I was
yeah.
going to say, speaking of taking care of yourself, how do you do that? And like when you have your down times, how do you
Mhm.
unwind?
So I love unwinding away, like going places. So yes, I do go places. Even when I'm not traveling abroad, I do enjoy taking like little mini vacations, you
Right.
know, on the weekends. I love doing that. I love wine tasting, you know, so I might go do that on the weekends. Um, I I exercise about 5 days a week.
Mhm.
So that's a part of like me feeling good and taking care of myself. I love, love, love just being outdoors in nature. So even if it's not anything extravagant, just like getting outside and connecting or, going to the beach. I love, obviously, beach bum. I love just being next to the water. I'm so simple, so it doesn't take a lot to make me happy. I
Okay.
could just go outside and like feel the sun and I feel good. So
I have that same feeling too. What is your sign, Naima?
Libra.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought it was maybe like an earth sign kind of thing or
Okay.
fire sign. I'm not even an earth sign. I'm actually a fire sign. I'm an Aries. But
Okay.
I
Oh, I
love,
like Aries.
oh, yeah.
I do. Maybe that's why we ended up like connecting.
Yeah.
I love
It's something about the sun and being outside that just like melts my heart. I feel like my body like craves it
yes.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That became especially important for me during the quarantine with having to be inside. Like I made it a part of my routine in the morning to just go in the backyard and just sit outside and get some sunshine for a little while. That makes such a huge, huge difference in my mood. And I know that I've always been vitamin D deficient, which can affect
Okay.
your mood. So I like really make it a point to go outside, get some sunshine, and just like start my day off like that. It
Yeah.
really, really makes a difference. And just to ground in and, just feel a connection to myself
Mhm.
and to just the environment around me. That's super important for just starting my day and being able to get my work done.
I love that. And similar to that too, I like to go hiking and walking because
Mhm.
in my place I don't have natural sunlight. So
Okay.
like, oh, I gotta get out the house because I can't even see the sun. Like it's
Yeah,
a different feeling, but it does definitely really set the mood and the tone for the day when you start in the morning. I agree.
totally. Yeah, and I love hiking too. I love hiking.
So refreshing.
Yes,
Also
it
my
is.
form of working out because I'm not really the best person in the gym. Like I get bored fast working
Yeah,
out. So
I do too. And I cannot stand the gym. I don't work out in the gym at all.
mm.
All of the working out that I do is at home.
Uh-huh.
And and then I recently just got into like sprinting, which
Okay.
is interesting because I always thought I couldn't stand running. Like I couldn't stand cardio at all. I would be like, I am not running, jumping, or doing any of that.
Yeah.
And just recently, like over the past month, I was like, I really like I know I'm like resistant to it, but for some reason I'm being called to do it. And so
Mhm.
I just started doing that and my legs are kind of a mess right now, but slowly but surely it's becoming like a routine for me.
That's awesome. I also saw recently that you shared that you don't understand how comparison syndrome exists during this world today. Can you
Mhm.
elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, I think that just stemmed from the idea that people have about other people based on what they share.
Mm, okay.
So, so like I just mentioned, people's perception of me, people that don't know me have this perception of me that I'm either always traveling, I'm always in a really good mood, I'm always like so calm and so zen and peaceful. And like all these things, these are things that people like really think that I am like every day. And I'm like, is that even possible? Like, that's not even human. Um, Aside from the fact that I'm just not like that. Like, yeah,
Right.
I have peaceful qualities, and there are days that I feel totally connected and aligned, and I feel good. And I'm, of course, sharing through my work practices for achieving that. But that doesn't mean that I'm like that every day, right? So I think what people get into is they look at what other people are sharing, obviously, and think that, gosh, their life must be so good. Oh, they're always traveling, or they have a lot of money, or their job situation is all the way together. Or, oh my goodness, their relationship is so perfect,
Mhm.
with their partner, or, oh, they're the best parent. Like all of these things that they're thinking based on
Right.
these photos that people are sharing. And in my mind, I'm like, how can people think that that encompasses all that they experience, all that they live?
Yeah.
Um, for me personally, I don't share half of what I experience in my life on social media. Most of what I share is really beautiful imagery, really beautiful experiences that I'm having or that I have had that I want to share with people. But I'm also not sharing when I'm in a totally bad mood or when I'm going through something or if I'm depressed, because that's just not what I choose to share. I understand that some people do share that, but that's just not what I choose to share. So I just can't, it's hard for me to imagine that people look at other people based on that, um, and think that they're somehow lacking or they're not on that level, or they're like, oh, I'm such a mess because I'm not there yet. And
Powerful, powerful. Yeah.
yeah, especially with people that are in some sort of transition in their life, like maybe they are creating a new life path for themselves. Maybe they're exploring like new work. Maybe they want to get involved in entrepreneurship or have a career change, or maybe they want to have a change with their family or have a baby or whatever,
Right.
whatever the case may be. Um, they're down on themselves because they're seeing what other people are posting, not realizing that it's probably a very small percentage of what they've had to experience to get to where they are.
Right.
you know and I
Exactly.
see that a lot with young girls too. As I mentioned, I have teenage daughters, and my 19-year-old, she compares herself and is like, oh, well, I'm 19, like I should have my whole life together, I should be making all this money. And I'm thinking,
What? In what world?
I'm like, when I was 19, she's in college too, like she's
Uh-huh.
handling her business, but I'm like, when I was 19, I was not even thinking about what kind of business I was going to start, or like, I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was in college. I was having a great time. I had a little boyfriend.
At every party. For me. At
I'm
every party.
not thinking about any of that, but I feel that a lot of the pressure that she puts on herself is based on what's being observed. And so I've heard this with a lot of people just in general, them feeling like they just don't have their life together, but it's by comparing to what you're seeing on social media.
Right. Which I think is important to like take breaks frequently because, it's just sometimes it could be very hard on the mental state.
Hmm.
And, I don't really remember, unless I was just kind of naive to it, but I don't remember so many younger individuals feeling this down and depressed for their age before Instagram and before TikTok and stuff. Because
Yeah.
I had social media when I was younger too, when Black Planet was the thing. And, and I don't remember it being like an issue then. So I wonder what the change is now. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. When social media came about, I was already a full grown adult. So I didn't experience social media as a child or as an adolescent. Um, I don't know. I think what it is now is that that's all that we're exposed to, right? Like most people are on social media. And a lot of kids, especially teenagers, are on social media, whether it's TikTok or, whatever it is that they're on. So I think it consumes a lot more time than it used to. And
Right.
also, what's the first thing that people do when they're bored or they have a little time, or, they're just feeling like they need to pick up something? Like our attention spans now are so horrible because, or our ability to just sit and be with ourselves. For
Right.
most people, it's tough. For most people to just have a moment in time, and it's like, okay, I have a moment, rather than sitting and breathing and tuning in and checking on yourself and, developing a certain level of awareness about yourself, or being with your own thoughts, or being quiet. What do? We pick up the phone. We're like, oh, let's see who posted something on Instagram, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really sad, but it's become a habit, I believe, in most people.
Hmm. It's definitely become a habit for me as well, I would admit. But I think when you start to become more self-aware, it's easy for you to kind of like have more control over that, you know?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's a habit for me too, you
Yeah.
know, like there are times when I feel really in tune and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sit and be quiet or tune in or whatever. But there are many times where I'm like, okay, I have a minute. Let me see what's going on.
Mhm. Let
And
me
pick
see what I
my
missed today.
right.
Yeah. So, but you being a mother and witnessing that with your daughter, is that kind of hard on you? Do you feel like there's something else you could be doing to kind of boost her confidence, or do you just let her just be a teenager and just go through the feels?
Both. You
Mm,
know, I mean, of course, it's hard for me as a mother because I'm like trying to explain to her, like, girl, you do not have to have everything figured out. Just relax. Like, I want her to just relax, you know, like, I'm glad that you're ambitious and that you want to be responsible and you want to make all this money and stuff like that. But don't put so much pressure on yourself, you
yeah.
know? So I try to kind of pour that into her and share that with her. But at the end of the day, she's going to have to go through some things too, like on
Right.
her own. And I've had to learn as a mother, you know, as she gets older, that all I can do is pour wisdom into her, and what she does with that, like either you listen or you don't. And
Right.
then sometimes she has to hear it from somebody else, right? Like I'll tell her something or give her some advice and she's like, okay. And then somebody else will just say the exact same thing and she's like, oh, you know what so and so said to me? That really makes sense. And I'm like, yeah,
I
that's
just told you that, but okay. That
yeah.
I can
So
see that happening often.
yeah.
Just gotta let her go through it, feel the feels.
Exactly.
When since you've been on this healing journey forever, this space,
Hmm.
would you say that you've already discovered the healer in you?
Oh yeah, I discovered the healer in me. I don't even remember how old I was.
Oh wow.
I've always been aware that, you know, we are the healer.
Yeah.
Every individual is the healer, and we all um, are born with it with an innate power to heal ourselves and to discover certain things about ourselves and to evolve in a healthy way. So I discovered that a long time ago. And part of what I believe my mission is to remind people of that.
I love that. For people who are just getting into that space, I mean, there's no certain time that you have to discover that, but what would be like some tips or suggestions you would give them to want to like deepen their healing journey?
Hmm. Well, the first thing that I would suggest is that you might have to try different things to learn yourself and what resonates with you.
Mm,
So, you know, of course, there are various tools and various practices. So I could say, oh, you should meditate, or you should, you know, be out in nature more, or you should use crystals. You know, of course, I can make all these suggestions based on what I like, but everything doesn't resonate with everybody.
very
Meditation doesn't resonate with everybody. I could say, you know, although it is an excellent practice and it's been proven to not only assist you mentally, psychologically, you know, physically, all of these different benefits, it's not for everybody. So my suggestion is to go on a journey of self-discovery. Try different things. Like most people are drawn to things, like even if they're just seeing it on social media or maybe they've heard about it or read about it. You know, when you're drawn to something,
yep.
you know, you'll be like, oh, I want to try that, or I want to, you know, that's interesting. I keep hearing about it. I want to know more. I would say start with those cues. Start with what you're being drawn to. Start with what has been nudging you. What you're attracted to. And through that, you'll discover so many different things about yourself.
Yeah.
Be creative. I would say be open. If you're
Mhm.
drawn to something, explore that. A lot of people are hesitant and intimidated by new practices and different things like that. And some people might have resistance because of fear of judgment, maybe like what their family is going to think about them, exploring different paths of healing and spirituality and things like that. But I'd say, just build your own practice, starting with the draw, starting with what you're
Powerful.
attracted to. Yeah, and what you're connected to. And once you start exploring that thing, whatever that thing is, you'll start getting all this information will start coming. You'll start noticing more things. You know, you'll start being introduced to maybe different books or classes or other people that might be on that same journey.
Mhm. Speaking of books, what are some of your favorite books? I love to have people leave us with a good book to read.
Oh my goodness. I have so many. I have so many favorite books, and I read like 3 or 4 different books at a time,
Okay.
and I rotate books. So one of my favorite books is The Seat of the Soul.
Okay.
Have you read that one?
I've not read that one yet.
Okay, so The Seat of the Soul, that's one of my favorite ones. I love God, so many. I have like so many on my nightstand. Right now I'm reading this book called High Vibrational Beauty, and it's all
Okay.
about like natural things that you can use, for your body and for your wellness. Reading another one called The Spirit Almanac, which is pretty basic. That one just gives like basic information on spiritual practices and things like that. That's a good one for like beginners of spirituality. Um, I love most recently reading books about like money and manifestation and things like that.
Those are some good
So
books.
yeah, so yeah, there's just a ton, but
Okay.
I love reading books.
Awesome. I want to talk more about your crystals now. Uh,
Mhm.
I love your crystals. I'm actually wearing them
Thank
right now.
you. Thank you.
Yellow venturine and citrine. Citrine is actually my favorite crystal. Uh, what is some misconceptions of crystal healing?
um, a lot of or a lot of the things that I hear that are just not based on any truth at all have to do with crystals being tied to religion in some
Mhm.
way. People being intimidated by crystals, using crystals for crystal healing because they think it somehow goes against their religion.
Okay.
I hear that a lot, and I'm like, what?
So
Okay,
true. Okay. Yeah.
realize that God made the crystals, right? Um, uh, so that, and then a lot of people have the misconception that you wear a crystal or use a crystal and it's just supposed to do all the work for you. Like, say you're using a crystal for manifesting.
Mhm.
You mentioned citrine. Citrine is known for attracting abundance and wealth and joy and creativity and things like that. So you put on your citrine bracelet and you just expect that all of a sudden money is just going to start pouring down, from the sky.
Yeah.
People, don't understand working with crystals and manifesting requires more than just having a crystal. Um, what else? I don't know. I mean, I get questions all the time about crystals.
Yeah.
So um, when people think of crystal healing in general, crystal healing has not been scientifically proven.
Mm.
For some people, that's just like, oh, that's just placebo effect, or it's not real, or that sort of thing, which it very well could be placebo effect. How crystals work, we don't know, but there have been studies that have shown and proven benefits. And obviously crystals have been used for thousands and thousands of years,
Right.
and studied, and and healing qualities have been established based on what has been studied for thousands of years. So, for some people, it's just like, oh, how can a rock do
Do
this?
this and that and heal me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've heard it all.
Um, for those that are listening right now who want to get into crystals, what would you recommend the best way to pick out your first crystal?
So I'm always going to suggest when you're first starting out to just use your intuition, whatever you're drawn to. If you're in a crystal shop or you're shopping for crystals online,
Mhm.
whatever your eyes are, whatever your eyes keep going back to, or whatever your spirit is telling you, like, oh, you need this crystal. I would say that's the best way. And a lot of times you'll find that that was exactly the crystal that you needed in that moment. Of course, there are other ways that you can pick your crystals. You can search for, you can do like a Google search,
Yeah.
crystals that are good for love, or crystals for abundant, and things will come up.
Hmm.
But I love just to suggest that people just use their intuition, and, you don't pick the crystal, you let the crystal
Pick you.
choose you. Yeah.
I like that. I actually agree with you because the first time I picked out my bracelet, I believe you had told me the same thing because I was like, I don't know which one to get. They all look beautiful. But there was one that did stick out to me, and it was a fancy jasper.
Okay.
I went home, I think it was maybe like a day or two later. I looked up the meaning of fancy jasper
Hmm.
and I was like, wow, I didn't even know this
Yeah.
was one that I really needed during that time.
Yeah.
Kind of shifted my whole perspective about them.
Yeah, I've done that. I've experienced that too, where I'll, maybe be like in a crystal shop. And
Hmm.
of course, I don't know the names of all of the crystals. There's so
Right.
many of them. And I'll see something that I've never seen before. And I'll just be like, this crystal wants me to take it home. And then I'll get home and do the research on the crystal. And I'm like, that was exactly what I needed right now. Like, that
Right.
was exactly. And I hear that all the time from people when they're choosing crystals. Like, they'll, when they're buying them from me, um, and I'll suggest that they just let the crystal choose them, and they'll pick it up and ask me, like, okay, what is this one good for? And then I'll explain it to them, and they're like, that was exactly what I need right now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What crystal is one of your personal favorites that you
Just
have?
one.
Well, give me like three that you have to have with you everywhere you go, whether it's in the house, in your purse, just out. You can give me three of your favorites.
Okay. Oh, that's just so limiting. Oh my goodness. Okay, so three of my favorites. Oh, amethyst has always been one of my favorites since I was a little kid. That was actually the very first crystal that I ever got, was a piece of amethyst.
Aw.
So amethyst, oh my gosh, just three. Black
As
tourmaline.
many as you want.
No, 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 we'll be here all day. Okay, black tourmaline.
Okay.
For protection, I love, a good chunk of protective black tourmaline. And then I would say something really universal like clear quartz.
Okay. Clear quartz is
Hmm.
a good one. I
Hmm.
don't think I have a clear quartz crystal. I have a black tourmaline
Hmm.
bracelet. I do have an amethyst crystal. Yeah, I still haven't. You know what it is? So the clear quartz, even though I think that's the most universal and powerful stone, I think
Hmm.
I'm a little nervous about having that stone because I know it really enhances like your feelings and your mood in that particular time. So I
Yeah.
don't want to like just wear it and what if I'm not having the best day? And I don't want to enhance those feelings.
Well, here's the thing. So it's a really good crystal for pairing with your other crystals because it'll amplify the energy of your other crystals. So,
I didn't know that.
say you have on a rose quartz, say, if we're talking about jewelry and you have on a rose quartz bracelet and you want to enhance that love energy, you just pair your clear quartz with it and it'll amplify that energy.
Okay.
Yeah. So I feel
It's
like
not
everybody needs clear quartz.
all right. So that's a good necessity. It's not as dangerous as I'm making it seem.
No, I mean, there are things to be aware of. Like, for example, I can't sleep with clear quartz in my bedroom
Okay.
because clear quartz I guess, amplifies my thoughts, or it makes it's just too much energy. So I find that if I have clear quartz in my bedroom, I have a hard time falling asleep. So I've had to like completely remove that stone from my bedroom. So, things like that you might want to be aware of. But other than that, I feel like everybody needs clear quartz. That's one of, not only is it like one of the most universal stones, it's
Mm.
good for everything. Like every ailment, everything is good for.
Okay. So
Mhm.
that's gonna be on my list to get a clear quartz.
Okay.
Let's get into your retreats. You have been all over the world, it seems like, Naima. Oh, just a little bit. But what place was probably your favorite place to visit of all time thus far?
My favorite and most traveled place is Bali.
Okay.
I mean,
What?
I mean, there are other places that I really enjoy, but Bali feels like home away from home for me, and it just
Okay.
feels so good. And when I land there and just get in the air, I feel super connected. I feel good. I just,
Mhm.
feel ready to receive. I feel open. I feel luxurious. I don't know. It just feels good.
Sounds like a lot of great feelings to feel.
Hmm.
Sure. How
Yeah.
do you choose the perfect areas for these retreats? And is the itinerary the same for every destination?
No, so it changes for every destination, obviously based on, you know, where it is, kind of like what the energy is there, what things there are to do there.
Hmm.
And then I have a different theme for every retreat.
Okay.
So, or different topics and, different things like that. So in Bali, I talk a lot about the five elements
Hmm.
and really connecting with that in the different places that we visit. So, um, for example, one of the excursions could be the water temple. So in that place, we would connect with the element of water and allowing more flow into our lives and things like that. And, we might go to the rice fields where there the element would be earth and grounding, and really grounding in to your body, making that connection, grounding into your purpose and things like that. So it's all built around the destination
Hmm.
and what there is to do there, and what the practices are there. Another example is a local retreat that I do is in Joshua Tree, and there is all about like vision planning and planting seeds for things that you want to manifest, in your life, career wise, personally, and things like that. So I change up the topics. The destinations I choose just based on like what I'm drawn to or what I've experienced. And I'm like, yeah, other people need to experience this. Of course, I want to make sure that the destinations are really beautiful, are safe, and give my guests a really kind of a well-rounded experience where they'll see the beauty, they'll be able to connect with the locals and things like that. Get some really good excursions and spa experiences in. So just anywhere that I find that will be a good balance of all of those things, where we can do our work and really go within and have a process of discovering things about ourselves, but then also have a really nice vacation and eat some really amazing food and see some really amazing things and have some beautiful experiences and all of that.
That is so beautiful. Now, I understand that your purpose, part of your purpose is being, um, part of your purpose is fed through creating spaces for women to connect and heal and grow.
Mhm.
Um, can we expect Beach Bum Wisdom to have retreats for men as well?
You know what? I tried
Okay.
actually. I did. I tried to plan a co-ed retreat in Peru, and no men signed up, so it ended up being all women.
Really? I'm actually not surprised, but I wonder if you were to do it with just men only instead of co-ed, because I don't know, I just feel like there's not really enough like safe spaces, at least none that I know of, for
Mhm.
men, to really let their hair down and
Mhm.
just have those moments to themselves and heal. I mean, it's new
Well,
to me.
I know they do exist.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't know like the name of any of them, but I have come across them on like social media and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I personally would never host a retreat with just me and like all men. I just wouldn't feel comfortable with that.
Okay.
Um, but I did try to, I thought Peru would have been perfect to be co-ed because, we did like Machu Picchu and did like a lot of outdoorsy type things. And um, I was working with a shaman over there that was leading most of the excursions and stuff like that. And he was really amazing. And I knew that he would be a part of a lot of the experiences that we had out there. So I thought, okay, well, that would be the perfect one to have men join, and not one.
But you tried. You definitely tried. So,
I did, because the men were
yeah.
asking, they're like, oh, were you ever going to do something that men can be a part of? And I think what it is, maybe, is that, I don't know, maybe they just feel uncomfortable. I, and then I think that a lot of what I put out there in promoting my retreats and just in general, like through, my marketing and advertising, it does have a very feminine feel to it.
Yeah.
So maybe they're like, no, that's not for me.
Yeah. It's probably too feminine. Or
Yeah,
just like you mentioned, they might be uncomfortable with being a little vulnerable.
maybe,
Possibly.
maybe so. Yeah.
Who knows? Well, I'm not going to keep you too much longer. I do want to say congratulations because you also just launched a couple months ago your loose leaf teas, which are so amazing.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
had that sample of exotic blend that you have in my Manifex box, and it was so good.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, that was that was one of my quarantine babies that I worked on. um I've just always had really beautiful experiences with tea, especially while traveling.
Okay.
And that seed was planted in Egypt.
Mm.
Um, an experience that I had, and a lot of the travels that I've had, what they do, like in India and, different places around the world, tea is like the most highly consumed beverage aside from water. But what they do in many places around the world is they'll invite you in their home and offer you tea. So I've experienced that all around the world where I'll go, no matter if it's like a village, where their houses are, practically outside, or, really luxurious places, offering tea is a beautiful way to welcome somebody to your place and to your culture and things like that. So I've always been really drawn and appreciative of that offering, when somebody invites you and gives you some tea. And when I was in Egypt, I had a really beautiful experience where I went to this village and they made hibiscus tea, which is one of the main ingredients in a lot of my different teas is hibiscus.
Okay.
But they offered the hibiscus tea and on this really beautiful china, and we sat and talked and just communed over this tea. And that was such a really beautiful, memorable experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from the fact that I like tea, and I think that that's a perfect, like, intentional way to take a pause and to just sit and be with yourself and reflect. There's a whole ceremony that can be created through tea. You can create your own ritual through it. But it was my travels that really inspired me to do that because I love the ritual behind it. I love, having the opportunity to connect with other people and learn about other people through that, and then to also connect with myself at home through a cup of tea. So that was kind of what sparked the inspiration for that tea line.
I love that. In
Thank you.
addition to the tea line, I'm not too sure when you had launched this, but you did create your own chakra meditation album, What
Yeah.
else can we expect from Beach Bum Wisdom? Because it seems like you could do everything, Naima. There's nothing that you cannot do. At least I haven't seen. So,
I think so much more is going to open up for me. Obviously, when the world opens back up and we start traveling again, I've
right.
honestly felt a little stagnant in these times because that's where I would draw my inspiration from is traveling. That's where I would go to these places and then I would feel so ready to create when I got home. And now I've just been home and I'm like, oh, I just want to get back to traveling. But I am working on my sound healing practitioner course right now. I recorded that in Joshua Tree, so it's being edited and all of that. So that'll be coming out. And that's just where I'm teaching people how to facilitate crystal bowl, sound baths and healings and things of that sort. And I don't know, I've been in a space where I'm learning to be more okay with being still sometimes, or I guess more often than I have been, because although, I live a good balance, I feel so restricted when I'm not just creating or doing something. And I've had to learn how to just be like, you know what, right now is not the time for that. Like, it's okay to pause. It's okay to reflect. It's okay to take your time. Like, there's no rush. And so I'm kind of in that space, but I've honestly been working on some other interests that I have, like real estate, like things that are totally
Opposite from what you normally do.
things that are totally opposite from what I do.
Yeah.
So while Beach Bum Wisdom will continue to grow and evolve, and that is my life's work, and that is what I absolutely love doing and envision myself doing until the day that I retire, if ever. I do have other interests. So
Right.
I'm like working on some real estate things and just other like personal interests.
That's good. I think
Yeah.
that's very a natural feeling to have, especially as a creative, if like feeling restricted when you're not creating something new.
Yeah.
It's totally natural because it's like that's like your instinct. That's like what you do is create. And when
Yeah.
you're not able to come up with something in that particular moment, or something's kind of preventing that, I think it's totally normal for you to feel that feel.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just can't wait to get back to traveling. That is
She's saying we outside. Just kidding.
yeah, that's what I want to be doing right now. I want to get some stamps in my passport. I haven't
Yeah.
gotten any stamps for the past year and a half, which has been a little depressing for me. But I am grateful, I'm grateful for this time just to, be healthy for one. Like
Yeah,
I've been
it's vital.
healthy for the past year and a half. I have had the opportunity to travel some places within the States and, to do like staycations here and there. So I'm super grateful. I'm just looking forward to getting back to my work,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
That's,
Yeah.
I'm excited. Well, the last thing I want to do is I like to ask people like a memory game. I named 3 songs, and you have to tell me a memory that you have with that song. And if you don't have a memory at all, that's fine. We can skip it.
Okay.
Um, Actually, I'm gonna give you 4 songs.
I hope I have memories to these songs. Ooh, this is a lot of pressure.
Let's
Okay.
see. Stevie Wonder, "Ribbon in the Sky."
Oh, so I mean, I love that song. I just don't know if I have any distinct memories um, that I think of when I hear that song.
And it could be the first thing that comes to mind. Whether if it's not a personal memory, it could be something that makes you think of that song. And for me, when I love that song too, but I think of The Best Man, like that movie. It's not, they were
Really?
playing that movie. I don't know. I think about my parents.
Yeah, I don't have any. Again, I love that song. I just nothing comes to mind, or nobody, or.
Okay. Let's skip it. Brandy and Monica, "The Boy Is Mine."
And the first thing that comes to mind when you say that is the video. And then I've heard that they weren't really in a good space, like with each
Right.
other when they filmed that video. Like I think they even filmed it separately. Um,
Yeah, it was. I mean, we still actually don't know exactly what the situation was, but yeah,
yeah,
they weren't in a good space.
yeah. I don't know. All I can visualize is the video.
You and your girls never did karaoke or anything to that song?
Maybe, maybe.
Okay. Notorious B.I.G. going back to Cali.
I guess Biggie just reminds me of that era, or especially that song just reminds me of that era, which makes me feel it reminds me of the car that I was driving at that time.
Ooh, what car was that?
It was an Acura Integra.
Okay. Back in the day, Acura days. Okay. I like that. Last song, Snoop Dogg featuring Pharrell, Beautiful.
I love that song too, but let me think. Do I have any? I don't know if I have any. Yeah, I don't know if I really have any memories for that song.
Okay.
The only, you know what, to be honest, the songs that songs take me back to eras. They're different,
Same.
like, periods of time in my life, right? So some of the most memorable were from when I was like in the 12th grade or something like that. So it could be like a Dog Pound album or something.
Okay. That's a good album. That's a good
You
album.
know, it'll take me back to an era, not to like a particular memory about a song, but I'll just remember like what was going on during that time.
Okay. I wanted to ask you like about the Dog Pound album, but I didn't know what song to ask you because I had already mentioned to one of my friends and he was on the show. Snoop Dogg's "Murder Was the Case."
Mm-hmm.
That was a popular song off that album too. So
Yeah.
I don't really want to repeat the same stuff, but
Yeah. No, it would
that
just be
album was definitely a moment.
like I remember actually was just listening to it like a few days ago over the weekend. I was at like a little get together and they were playing that, and I was just like, oh, this was like such a great time.
uh-huh.
Remember, just being out and about with my friends, being in my little car and just in the CD in and
Mhm. Living life, just living, no
yes,
worries, no kids,
carefree.
probably. Well, Naima, it's been a blessing and so great to have you on the show today. I'm so grateful for you. Please let everyone listening right now know where they can find you if they're interested in anything Beach Bum Wisdom.
Okay, so you can start at Beach Bum Wisdom on all the platforms, Instagram, Facebook, you can start there. But I have extensions through Beach Bum Wisdom Crystals, Beach Bum Wisdom Travels, and Beach Bum Wisdom Tea. So you can find me there pretty much on all of the major platforms. You can find me online and extensions to everything that I do at beachbumwisdom.com.
Yay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Naima.
Having me. It's
Of
good to
course.